All right, hello everybody. Good evening and welcome into a Monday edition. I had to think about what day it was there.
Like
a Monday edition of KC Sports Tonight. I'm Mark Poulose, joined alongside by Katie Maher, and the World Cup is just 1 month away. That seems kind of hard to believe for something that we've been talking about here in Kansas City for so long. Now, we already have a debate kind of raging here within the sports department.
Leave it in the comments. What's your opinion?
So here's the question. I was writing up some of these graphics for our show today, and I wanted to say T minus 1 month to the World Cup. I wrote T dash minus 1 month to the World Cup, and Katie is saying that's incorrect.
I think it's T dash 1, and like the dash is the minus.
I think
but
you're
I'm
right.
Not sure.
But then I started to type that one out in the graphics,
right.
and it didn't look right. But now that the more I look at T minus on there on the screen, I don't think that looks right either.
I don't think it looks right either. I think it has to be. Did you write out it like phonetically, like not phonetically, but like the actual word, like O-W, or oh my God, O-N-E?
O-N-E? Yeah, I did, instead of the numeral.
I think you have to do the numeral.
All right, we're going to try that. We're going to do this live. We're going to do this
change.
live on the stream, baby. So if you guys have anything to say about this, let us know in the comments. I guess that means Katie won the debate because I changed. I folded.
I think that's right.
I folded like I got pocket twos right there. Just completely out of that. But
if we're wrong, let us know in the comments. So I'm not actually sure.
And if you care that much, maybe let's reassess some things. All right, but T minus 1 month to the World Cup, which really is kind of crazy to say. Katie, the reason I want to put this in the show is, like, we keep hearing that Kansas City doesn't really know what's coming. The World Cup's going to be the biggest thing we've ever seen. We've seen some of the chatter out there from the hotel world that they're maybe questioning if it's going to be the biggest thing that we've ever seen. But my question for you is, what are you most excited to see when the World Cup comes to town? Because I really haven't thought about it.
I'm just excited to see how people from other countries get excited for their country that they're watching here. Like one of the best things in sports is just watching fans get excited about their team. Like, there's no better feeling than watching your team go be successful and win games and do whatever. And obviously not everyone's going to win a game here, but it's still going to be exciting for the fans who get to enjoy that experience of watching their team in this once every 4 years type of atmosphere, once in a lifetime for a lot of people. So I'm just excited to watch people from other countries come here and get to watch that. And whether or not there are a lot of people who do that from other countries, that's still up for debate, and we're not going to find that out until it actually happens and we're actually at those games and interacting with those fans. But you got to imagine that they're going to be here. People from Algeria, they're going to be here.
Yeah, and they're going to get to see Kansas City for the very first time, which I think is very exciting for people like myself from Shawnee, a lot of people from Kansas City. There's a little bit of a Kansas City kind of inferiority complex. Like, we're flyover country. Oh, no one ever, like, we have a great city and no one ever sees us. No one ever talks about us. That's kind of changed a little bit since the Chiefs have become so good and kind of put us on the world stage. But now's our time to kind of, show, like, there's a lot going on here. And so right now, Katie, I live in the Northland, and one thing that kind of cracks me up is that on the way from like the Northland down towards the city is they are putting on new blacktop on I-29. They're trying to like beautify the road in to Kansas City so that it looks a little bit better. So like obviously when all these travelers come in. So I know Kansas City as a whole, we're definitely all trying to put our best foot forward, whether that's the city itself, the local government, all these other little municipalities like Riverside where the Netherlands is going, or even us in the media. Everyone's trying to put their best foot forward. Everyone's excited for the world to kind of come because, like, a lot of people I know in Kansas City recently, there have been some naysayers, shall we say, though, it's not going to be as big as we think. What I can guarantee you guys is when those games are going on, when they're playing World Cup matches in Kansas City, the world undoubtedly will be watching. So especially for those moments, let's make sure we put our best foot forward because kind of cool to see. But I'm pumped up. I'd be more pumped up though if some people came in the comments and told us T minus what was the correct answer there. Got some four reactions today.
No comments yet?
No comments yet. Come on,
we're
folks.
Waiting for you guys.
Write in those comments.
I will say one big point here. I'm from the East Coast. I'm from New Jersey. I know New York City very well. I know DC very well, all those surrounding cities. There have to be thousands of fans in the world who are looking at the logistics of which city do I want to go see my team play, blah, blah, blah. If they have multiple options, like, for example, how Argentina plays both here and in Dallas. If there is a team that the difference between Kansas City versus a lot of other bigger cities in the U.S. is that we are one of the smaller ones, yes.
I think the smallest market to have a World Cup game. Yeah.
Probably, yeah. When I tell you, I've seen the price comparisons for what they're charging in New York, which is really New Jersey, stadiums in New Jersey. But when I see the price comparisons, what a typical trip on the train costs to get to MetLife from Penn Station, I believe, it's like $10. They're charging over $100 for those. And typically they are $10.
That's ridiculous.
I'm from there. My brother lives in Brooklyn. Like, trust me, they are upcharging by the wazoo and other places. And I think there's probably going to be a little bit of like stuff like that happening here. I don't think it's going to be anywhere near as severe and as expensive that this trip is going to be in other cities in the country. So that is something to consider. I think there have to be fans that look at that and say, hey, Kansas City might be the cheapest place for us to go in this World Cup.
Hey, well, hey, if there's any reason that gets them here, we'll take them. Excited for the World Cup. 1 month away. Coming up tonight on our KCTV5 News at 6, Sports Director Marlia Campbell actually caught up with Nate Bukaty to talk about all this kind of stuff. He's a perfect guy to talk about because he used to do local radio here in Kansas City. Now he's a national soccer analyst for Fox Sports, CBS, all these different places, Apple TV. He's done some work. So really cool story coming up tonight at 6 p.m. Also will be on our website, kctv5.com.
Mark, I have terrible news for you.
Okay.
I'm Gabe Swartz.
Oh, you are. Wow. See, the comments are correct. Whoever did that.
My dad just Snapchatted me this.
Papa Maher. Getting a shout out.
Thanks,
See,
Ed.
I was setting the show up. I knew I didn't do something, and that was that. So let's get your name correct, because I just wrote Marlia. See, that's not even right either. Katie Maher, superstar Katie Maher in the house. All right, there we go. Papa Maher.
Superstar Ed Maher.
We got superstar Ed Maher. Look at that from the editorial desk. Ed Maher, thank you for that one. So World Cup coming to Kansas City in 1 month. Very excited for that. But a lot going on today in the world of sports. This topic, obviously, pretty serious, so we're going to have a little bit of a change in tone here. But Missouri star running back Ahmad Hardy was down in Mississippi on Saturday night into Sunday morning at an outdoor concert, rap concert, and it looks like it's near his hometown in Mississippi. And the police got called there around 2 a.m. When they got to the site of this outdoor concert, they found that Ahmad Hardy had been shot, as had another person. So after that, Ahmad was taken to a local hospital there in Mississippi. And then today, the University of Missouri announced in a statement released to the media that Ahmad did have surgery, that he is in stable condition. But I think that's something that was pretty stood out to me in this press release, where they said that the timeline for him to return to football is uncertain. Now, still a little bit on the news side of this, from our sister station WDAM down there in Laurel, Mississippi, where this all went down. They report that 3 19-year-old suspects were arrested on the scene, but they have not been charged. So obviously we do hope that justice is carried out in this case. Feel horrible for Ahmad Hardy. He was one of the best returning players in all of college football. Last year, he was a finalist for the Doak Walker Award. This was a guy that many people thought would be in the Heisman Trophy conversation. Obviously, football on the back burner after what has happened with him over the weekend. But Katie, this is a guy that you saw multiple times last season. He's a very, very good football player. Obviously, we're all feeling for Ahmad and his family just due to the situation. But football-wise, this was an incredible player.
Yeah, he was a Doak Walker finalist, top 3 running back in the nation for a reason. And I think, when Mizzou fans would look at who they get back next year, the fact that he didn't enter the portal and, the fact that he's coming back for another year, I mean, that was huge for the football program going forward, because he was such a vital part of their team last year. He had just a career year, and, he's a guy that we imagine we're going to see play on Sundays and things like that. So obviously, it's horrible for him and his family. We're glad to hear that he's doing okay. Very happy that the email that we got with that statement was not worse news, and that he's in stable condition now and everything. It sucks, obviously, football wise, because I believe he was shot in the leg, correct? is what
ESPN reporting that he was
reported.
shot in the leg.
Yeah,
Yep.
Obviously terrible football-wise, but again, football-wise is not the most important thing here. The most important thing is that he's okay, and that he's gonna live and go on. But obviously we want to see him back on the field because he's a heck of a player to watch.
Yeah, he really is, and hopefully he can kind of recover and get back to 100% and become the player that he was, because I know I want to say after this most recent NFL draft, there was one of those, you see some publications pop up with these right after the way too early next year NFL draft. I was like, all right, I'll click and see if there's any names that have kind of generated buzz, and a guy that was in there as a first-round pick as a running back was Ahmad Hardy. And we know just recently it's so hard to be a running back picked in the first round. But Ahmad Hardy really is that type of player. I think there are a lot of Missouri fans this year that would argue, and I would even say they would argue correctly, that Ahmad Hardy deserved to win the Doak Walker Award over Jeremiah Love. I know there's a lot of Notre Dame fans that would probably disagree with that take. They'd say, look at the hurdles. I would say, look at the yards. Look at I think he averaged 6.4 yards per carry, and he did it. Ahmad Hardy did that while playing in the SEC. Notre Dame doesn't play in a conference. They get to play 5 games against the ACC, and then they get to play a bunch of nobodies. There's a problem. Okay, don't need to get into that argument, but Ahmad Hardy, certainly one of the best running backs in the nation. Tragic news there. Hopefully he bounces back and gets to 100%, because that is one heck of a football player. Katie, anything else on that one?
No, obviously just hoping for a speedy recovery and that he's feeling better soon. It's terrible. Absolutely
terrible situation. Now, moving on to baseball, the Royals had a pretty successful homestand, I would say, this last week, taking on most recently, I can't believe the Guardians and the Tigers over a weekend set, 6 games here at Kauffman Stadium. And the good news even more good news coming out of this most recent homestand was that Bobby Witt Jr. was named the American League Player of the Week for his week last week. Bobby last week, 407 batting average, 3 homers, and a 1.263 OPS. So that's his combined on-base plus slugging percentage. That is unbelievable. He also had that inside-the-park home run that we saw that was
14 seconds.
Yeah, I think it was one of the 4th or 5th fastest inside-the-park homers in the StatCast era. He's unbelievable. And obviously we see what he does defensively in the field. He's unbelievable. So, Katie, I saw earlier, I think it was yesterday, that Bobby Witt Jr. leads all of baseball in wins above replacement. So my question for you, there's a guy, there's Shohei Ohtani, there's Aaron Judge, there's a bunch of good baseball players. But is Bobby Witt Jr. blossoming into the best player in baseball?
I think he's for sure up there in the top 5 conversation when you're talking about other players like Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani. I think Shohei Ohtani is everyone in the world loves to watch him for obvious reasons. He does it on both sides of the ball, et cetera, pitches, all that fun stuff. But I think that this started back in the World Baseball Classic, where Bobby Witt Jr. kind of, when everyone was watching, shined and did what we see from him all the time, especially at the shortstop position, defensively. And I kind of put other people on notice of that's why they gave him a 10-year contract in Kansas City. Makes sense, I guess. So I think he's for sure. He was already in that conversation. By no means was he number 1, but I think he's in the conversation for a top 3, top 5 selection now when you talk about the best players in the majors. Because, you also do have, are we just talking about hitting? Are we talking about pitching as well?
We're talking about it all.
Can of worms. But he's for sure, when you're talking about the more well-rounded, because he's so good at shortstop and he's so good at hitting the ball, or at least has now been playing kind of like the Bobby that we had seen, back when he was signing his 10-year contract extension and was hitting the ball so well. But he's for sure, I think, made huge strides in the last few weeks. Kind of a slower start to the season, which is typical for literally everybody in Major League Baseball and nothing to be super alarmed about. I think the last few weeks he's really kind of started to put the world on notice again that Bobby Baseball is in Kansas City. Yeah.
No, that's exactly. You really just hit the nail on the head there, because I think kind of maybe going into the last week or maybe the 2 weeks before that, people kind of say Bobby Witt Jr. had not gotten off to the start of the season that he wanted to. He was a good player, but he wasn't playing as a guy that was, one of the best players in baseball. And then last week, I think I was reading that he raised his batting average 20 points in 1 week alone because he's playing so good. And I think people, and just I think it's kind of just this era that we're living in of media coverage, especially in sports. Like, you really need to have those viral moments for your stardom to really pop off.
Yeah.
Because it's just the nature of how media is consumed these days. Like, that's you get to people through like virality. That's how you really reach them, at least in my opinion. Not that this is a media class,
especially when it's a team like in Kansas City where it's a smaller market.
Yeah.
And like people in New York are like, who's Bobby Witt Jr. like a year or so
and then
ago.
they saw that inside the park home run where he ran from home to home in
14.13 seconds, I think.
Whatever it was, extremely fast. And that was kind of the moment like, oh, wow, like this Bobby Witt Jr., like he's actually pretty good. It's like everyone in Kansas City is like, we see this all the time. But you need that viral moment to kind of get out to the rest of the country and be like, hey, guys, this Bobby Baseball is one heck of a player. And then that little Superman slide he did into home plate, that was unbelievable. That's what we love to see. That's why he's one of the best players in baseball. Cool to see that.
That's why he has a deal with Whataburger.
Hey, amen to that. And
they don't choose just anybody.
He's a Texas boy.
Yeah.
So no, shout out to Bobby Witt Jr. Cool for him to see win that AL Player of the Week. And, hey, maybe he will blossom into becoming the best player in all of baseball. Now, some basketball to talk about because yesterday was the NBA draft lottery. Locally here in the Kansas City area, we've kind of been talking about the NBA draft all season long because KU had Darryn Peterson, who at this time last year was the projected number 1 overall pick in this year's NBA draft. Now, that may not be the case because of the season that played out, the cramping issues that came up, and his availability. And he just didn't have the freshman season that a lot of people thought he could. But the number 1 overall pick went to the Washington Wizards, number 2 to the Utah Jazz, 3 to the Memphis Grizzlies, 4 to the Chicago Bulls, and 5 is going to the LA Clippers. So, Katie, couple questions for you here. Do you think Darryn Peterson has a chance to go number 1 overall still? And then kind of number 2/number 1, whichever one you want to answer first. Obviously, there was Darryn saying on Friday that it was creatine that was causing his cramping issues. Do you think that NBA teams and executives will buy that and be okay with that explanation?
I'm extremely confused. When I first saw that, I can't tell you how many student athletes of sports that don't go to KU, go to smaller schools, etc., could easily tell you need to drink an extreme amount of water when you're on creatine and other what's the word?
Supplements?
Supplements like that, yes.
I think creatine, it puts water in your muscles. Like, that's why people look bigger when they're on creatine.
Yes.
They have a lot of water weight.
You need to drink an insane amount of water so that creatine doesn't, like, ruin you. I'm extremely, extremely confused how this was not realized earlier in the season when you have a top university and a top basketball program and all this funding.
And a great health system. The University of Kansas health system is unbelievable.
How was this not realized? That creatine was the root of the problem here. And if I sound like I'm getting fired up about that because I'm like, even I don't take creatine, and even I knew that you have to drink an insane amount of water when you're on creatine and substances like that. I'm very confused how, if that is the case, how was that the case? It also feels like this is coming out at a kind of a prime time with the
just a couple days before the lottery happens.
Yeah,
let's just drop this nugget.
Oh, let's just put that in here and try and tell teams. It seems like
we'll call up Ramona Shelbourne.
Yes, it seems like his camp is getting a little worried that he's not going to go number 1 overall. So yeah, I am, for one, just kind of, for lack of a better word, flabbergasted at how this was not realized during the season. For one, just going to put that out there. Second of all, I think there's still a good chance that he goes number 1 overall simply because he looks like Kobe Bryant out there. Like, you see the way he shoots the ball. He's like the most effortless, just natural looking guy out on the court. But is this creatine, is it the truth? Like, I think that's why there's also a good chance he doesn't go number 1 overall, because you had AJ Debonsa, who won Big 12 Freshman of the Year playing at BYU, who didn't have these issues. And, it's the debate. Who's going to go first overall? It's either going to be AJ Debonsa or it's going to be Darryn Peterson. And I think Darryn Peterson's camp might be worried about that now, and that's why this came out when it did. And, obviously, Darryn said that he thought he was going to die at one point, and obviously if that was the case, like, we feel for him, and that's a scary situation to be in. I'm confused how the people around him in the profession that they're in didn't realize what the problem was and do something to fix it sooner.
Yeah.
That's my thing.
Yeah, the whole creatine situation, obviously, Darryn gets the benefit of the doubt. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say what I think his health issues are and how they need to be addressed and all that kind of stuff, but it just seems this is an odd time for this information to come out, and it's also an odd time for this to be what was discovered. But again, hopefully everything is all good with Darryn. Hopefully he is able to play and is cramp free, because I think when you just look at the basketball players, AJ Debonsa and Darryn Peterson, if you could just have one of them at the peak of their powers, and they could play at the peak of their powers every single night, you would pick Darryn Peterson, I think, every single time. Like, I'm not saying that as a guy that covered the University of Kansas and did not cover BYU. I just think when you look at Darryn's skill set, his ability to shoot the basketball, his ability to pass, one thing I saw this year, even when he was struggling with his cramps, was his defensive intelligence. Sometimes the blocks that he would get, it was kind of unbelievable. Like, I think Darryn Peterson is the best player in this draft class, but it's just, can he play every night? And like, when these you see these NBA contracts, like, eventually, like, if Darryn Peterson or AJ Debonsa becomes as good as a lot of people think they can become, these are guys that are going to be getting contracts that are worth $60 million plus every year. So like, it's like whoever picks number one, it's probably like that GM is probably going to get extended or fired, and there's no in between, because you either pick the right guy and it worked out, or you whiffed and you didn't pick Darryn Peterson and he becomes an incredible player. Yeah. Like, I don't know if there's a kind of a safe, or you pick Darryn Peterson and the cramping issues persist. Yeah. And he doesn't become an incredible player and you get fired. It's a tough situation to be in. Yeah. But I think, a couple months ago, maybe even last month, people were kind of saying Cam Boozer, AJ Debonsa, or Darryn Peterson. But Katie, to me, recently, it's just been Debonsa and Peterson.
Yeah, that's what and that kind of has been the case, I think, for most of the college basketball season, just because when you watch the natural ability, I think, like I said, when you watch Darryn Peterson play, you're like, oh my gosh, like, what an effortless, like, just lovely looking basketball motions he make, all that stuff.
Yeah, well,
that was a little bit gibberish, but you know what I mean. But yeah, like, you got it exactly right. Like, this is either going to go two directions. You're either going to pick Darryn Peterson and it's going to work out, and he's going to become the next Kobe Bryant, like people are saying he looks like, or you're not going to pick Darryn Peterson, and then he's going to go do something else somewhere else, and then you get fired, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, like we said, it's just strange timing that this is coming out, and I'm not sure how this wasn't uncovered before.
Yeah, so hey, we'll see what happens. Obviously, we wish Darryn the best. Actually, kind of interesting thing about this, our meteorologist, Corey Kowich, is a big Washington Wizards fan because he's from the Baltimore area. He popped in the office today, was very excited that the Wizards had earned our whatever you want to say, the number one pick through the draft lottery. And I asked, are they going to pick Darryn? And he said no. And he says he thinks they're going to go AJ Debonsa. So I think that's a little bit of a peek into the lens maybe of what Washington, their fans, are thinking about this. And here, obviously, in the KC area, we say Darryn because we saw Darryn play. And he...
I can tell you Washington fans are just saying, somebody to save this team.
Yeah, they need someone to do that. Well, here's what's interesting. So if Washington did take Peterson number 1 overall, the number 2 pick is Utah. Mm-hmm. And
he could stay in Utah.
Stay AJ Debonsa could stay in Utah. I mean, he just went there for college, so then, go to... Yeah. I think, isn't BYU... Oh, BYU's Provo.
Yes.
And then he'll go to Salt Lake City, whatever, if he goes to the Utah Jazz. Hey, so we'll see what happens.
Out there.
Yeah. Beautiful city. Also, where Gianni Navarro is going. So, all right, that's where her next move is. All right.
Gianni can go say hi to AJ.
Now she just got mentioned on KC Sports Tonight. All right. Shout out to Gianni. Great weekend anchor here for 3 years. All right, Katie, last story. You were out at the KC Mavericks today. What was going on out there?
KC Monarchs.
Excuse me, the KC Monarchs. Did I say Mavericks? My bad. You're at the KC Monarchs.
You were at the KC Mavericks yesterday.
Yes, I was.
And you're just so excient about being out there.
Playoff hockey night in Kansas City.
Yes. Monarchs introduced their new ownership today. Quint Studer. Studer. I keep wanting to say Strudler, and I'm Strudels. I think I'm just hungry. Yes, Quint Studer. Very nice man. Came up and introduced himself to us, so that was cool. He has bought the team, and today they publicly introduced him. And, you know, it's a plethora, I always say that word wrong apparently, of, you know, media and community members and all that. So it was a fun little celebration. Lance Leipold and his wife were there. KU Athletic Director Travis Goff was there. It was very funny when, like, it started and Quint started his speech. And the first thing he did was shout out his good friends, Kelly and Lance Leipold. And I was like, where is Lance? What? And then I looked to my left, and there's just Kelly and Lance Leipold. So that was a fun little thing that happened during it. But yeah, so they laid out some ideas that they have. This is a guy who owns 2 minor league teams that are affiliates of the Miami Marlins. So he's not new at this stuff. He knows what it takes to run a successful ballpark in that minor league type of setting. And it's all about the family experience, the community experience, and having activities for people to do, and also having things clean. He said that he's doubled the salaries for a lot of the game day staff in those stadiums since owning those teams. So that's a fun little fact there. He also wants to increase the amount of people that work there, putting a big emphasis on cleanliness, having believe the word was adamant bathroom cleanliness staff. Dedicated, that was the word, dedicated bathroom cleanliness staff, because apparently that's been a complaint here in Kansas City. I didn't know that, but apparently it's kind of sounded like it was. So that's
well, if
great.
that was a point of emphasis, I have to assume that it was. Yeah,
we love clean bathrooms.
Who
what
doesn't?
can I say? So yeah, they also want to have garbage cleanups every 3rd, 5th, and 7th inning. You can interact with the staff more, and then they're going to have staff-led sing-alongs in the 7th inning. So yeah, it seems like this is a guy who really knows how to create that type of environment in a minor league ballpark type setting. So I think that fun things are going to be coming for Legends Field. He wants to make it a place that's affordable and a place that people want to spend their time.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great time out there at Legends Field. I think, you know, people should go out there, support the new ownership group. I was actually looking them up because the name, we were talking about this in the sports office. I wanted to verify it before we said on the stream. But Quint Studer, that's his name, correct?
Yes.
Quint. So Quint Studer also owns the Pensacola Blue Wahoos, which is the AA affiliate of the Miami Marlins. And then 2 of the co-owners of that team, 2-time Masters champion Bubba Watson, and I'm going to assume this is former Tampa Bay linebacker Derek Brooks. So Quint Studer, pretty cool that he, you know, owns a team with Bubba Watson and Derek Brooks down there in Pensacola. But very excited for that.
He also has met Buck O'Neil before. He's spent some time with him. Buck O'Neil helped him set some stuff up out in Pensacola when he first started out there, which I thought that was a fun little tie-in with the KC market. And I asked him, what have you learned about Kansas City fans so far? And he said that they really care about winning and losing. So yeah,
good to hear. And then one last thing, Katie, before we go, I think in your story, I believe at 3:30, I saw that they wanted to have maybe a closer affiliation with the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum.
Yes, as the Negro Leagues Museum is expanding, they have like a $35 million expansion going on right now, which is awesome. He said he wants to play a part in that. And also include more Negro League Museum signage and other historical facts about it throughout the stadium, even more than there already is. So I thought that was a cool little nod to the history there.
Yeah, if you want to check out Katie's story, you can find that on our website, KCTV5.com. That's where it is. It's
Monday. Words are hard.
Yeah, the words were not coming out there. But, hey, it's on our website. It's in our app. Go check it out. Cool stuff there. That's a good sports on this Monday evening. We will see you in our 6 p.m. newscast. Take care.